Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. You're back with hashtag Keep the Flame Alive. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to make an apology. I want to apologize to all the Yoshinkan people out there. It's a long story, long apology, but bear with me. In one of the interviews, Paul Stevens asked me if I had an agenda. And I said, no, I didn't. But I think I did. And I think I've been pretty harsh on the Yoshinkan. And I've called out lots of things. And I shouldn't have. I'm coming from a good place. I'm passionate about the Yoshinkan. I believe in the Yoshinkan. But I'm no longer in the Yoshinkan. So I shouldn't take cheap shots from the side. So Paul Stevens Sensei, you make me realize that. And Toby Schulter, you have been very passionate in your defense for the Yoshinkan, which made me realize that it's your turn. I had my chance and I didn't do much with it. So guys, from now on, with hashtag Keep the Flame Alive, we will talk about the Yoshinkan, but when it gets political about the current administration and things like that, I will reserve my judgment. So if I've offended anyone in the past, I do apologize, no excuse, no more cheap shots, no more harsh comments about the Yoshinkan. It's a great institution teaching a really good, solid martial art. Okay, so there's my apology. Okay, my panel today, we're calling them the educators. All three of these gentlemen, and I use that term loosely, are school teachers and Aikido teachers. First, Nick Mills Sensei, he's a 7th Dan and he runs the Shudokan Dojo in Toronto. Nick Sensei, can you tell us a bit about your teaching history?
I've been teaching Aikido and regular school for about the same amount of time, about 22 years for school, 25 years for Aikido. I've done a lot of ZED outdoor education in school and multiple grades. So, and yeah, my school, the education to become a teacher and my experience as a teacher has impacted my teaching methods and things like that within the dojo.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think vice versa too.
Okay, and Nick Mills Sensei did the Senshusei course, the famous Angry White Pajama course, and he was?
Mad Dog.
Okay, all right. Next we go to Christoph Jester Sensei from the Shudokan in Belgium. Welcome.
Sensei, yes, so I live in Belgium. I'm 48 now, and I started Aikido in 2005, I think. I teach also Catholic interview for years, 15 years. I started in 1996, and outside the dojo, I'm school teacher.
What age group?
What age group? Small kids, from 6 to 12, but currently 6.
6, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, and next we have Maddie Ray Sensei, who's a senior instructor at the Shudokan.
Of course, thank you. I've been teaching high school teacher, drama and English for roughly 20 years. Within that, of course, that means that I've directed a number of school performances and also directed and written stuff outside of school as well. I've taught Aikido since 2007. So that's, if my maths is correct, 13 years, I think. At the Shudokan, and like Nick Mills Sensei, I think both my Aikido teaching and my experiences in the dojo and at high school have informed how I run classes in both venues.
Okay, let me read something to you. Education is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. Would you agree with that? Nick?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
both,
yes.
Both, sorry, Nick.
Yeah.
Both in school and in the dojo, would you say that's true?
Yes. Yeah, I think they're teaching slightly different things, but yes. Yeah.
Okay. Maddie?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think probably for me, maybe the most important thing is habits. There, maybe the dojo teaches you habits, so does school should teach you habits as well, plus all the things that the government tells us that we need to teach.
Okay, Christoph, would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I totally agree too. Yeah, yeah. We have different goals. Yeah, short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And this is what you're talking about.
So when you say those short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, is that just in the dojo, or are you talking about school?
In both.
Okay.
In both.
All right. So if that's what we believe, obviously in the dojo, we're not just teaching technique. We're teaching people how to be, how to act, how to behave, etc., etc. But the teaching styles in the dojo and in school, in the classroom, are so different. Or at least it is when I teach the kids. Maddie, you want to go first? How do you reconcile the two?
Yeah, look, I don't see. There's a lot of things that are similar, so I might just speak about some of the similarities. I mean, when you learn how to be a teacher, you're hit with this idea that you need to. Something we were taught was scaffolding a student, for example. So I guess assessing kind of where they're at, giving them a few skills to actually complete a task. So if I was, in an English classroom, it'd be, how to construct good sentences, put in quotes, and then write an essay. And in the dojo, I guess we look at, for that day, teaching the Kihon Dosa movement, the Kihon Waza, and then going into something a bit more freestyle. So I see a lot of similarities there in my mind. There are other things as well, but I won't speak too much.
We'll get there. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some limitations in both places that mean that you can't, it's not exactly the same. But I agree with Marty that there's a lot of duplication in terms of methodology and how we teach. We do things in chunks, so you teach a little bit, and then you put all the whole structure together. It's like building with Lego blocks or whatever, and that's true in Aikido, and that's true in the school too. So.
Christoph?
I don't teach in my classroom like I teach in the dojo, but teaching in my classroom helped me to teach in the dojo. I know how to manage the kids. I know sometimes you know the words. All the ways leads to the top of the mountains.
Yep.
If this way is not good, I know, okay, it doesn't work. I will use something else, and that's methodology, and it's the same in both.
Okay, so I've been to schools to teach Aikido and other things, right? And I find the discipline appalling. So in the dojo, it takes me like 30 seconds to line kids up. At a school, it would take me 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So where's the discipline in the school? And is it necessary?
Well, I think when you're going into schools, are you left alone or is the teacher there? Because, I mean, I respect your Aikido teaching, obviously, Sensei, but I
won't teach unless there's a teacher present.
Yeah, and does the teacher not? I mean, while others were speaking, I was thinking about classroom management, and most of the schools I worked at were inner city schools and racialized, marginalized communities, and that's where I wanted my focus to be. So I'm not complaining about it, but classroom management is key. The teaching isn't that hard. It's if you get the management down. And I think that's the same in the dojo. The difference in the dojo is, I don't know, we as people who run our own dojos, we're the Ministry of Education and the Director of Education and the principal of the school. And if a student is misbehaving, then he's sitting at the side or he's out for a couple of days. I've done all that kind of stuff, and there's no one to stop that kind of decision making. A lot of times in school, you can have some pretty poor behavior and try and manage the classroom. And at the end of the line, you're hoping to get support because you can't make the big decisions on your own, and you don't get that support from your administrators. So
okay, you haven't answered my question, but we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Christoph?
It's not the same authority. I don't know if you understand me.
Yep.
It's not the same. The teacher in the classroom can't have the same authority as on the mats for me. So yes, in discipline is very, very important in martial arts. Because certainly of safety, and it's also you are obliged to do this discipline. Yeah, is it correct?
Yep.
Because if kids don't listen to you, they can be injured. Is it correct?
Oh, they do get injured if they don't listen to me.
Yeah, yeah, but by you. But if they don't, they can injure someone else. If they don't know where to stand, where to throw, this is safety, and this is also discipline.
Okay, Maddie?
So you're saying that it takes you longer at a school. You're saying there's a lack of discipline. I think probably that's one of the differences maybe with the dojo and a school. Discipline looks very different in a high school for me. And I would approach it in a different way. So they don't know you when you come in. Sometimes that works in your favor, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'll get discipline from my kids, not by yelling at them, but by forming some sort of relationship with them. So if I walk into a class on the very first day that I take them and I start yelling at them, it might work for a little while. But it's going to give me a headache and make me drink more. And it's also going to make kids, eventually, if I'm operating at this level, they'll get used to that level. And then I'll have to go higher and higher. So right from the first day, I'm looking at, trying to learn their names. I go in and do that first, and then try and make it so that if you mess up, then you're disappointing me rather than you're being a bad kid. Because no one cares really about being a bad kid.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a badge of honor. But if you've got a relationship with me and you destroy that, then that's on you, not me.
So you're saying discipline is important?
Yeah, definitely.
But it looks different.
But it looks different. And sometimes it might take, in the cases that you were in school, perhaps it's because they didn't know you. They didn't know what to expect. They weren't listening to you. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't necessarily, maybe they needed a little bit longer in your presence, and then they realize how you do things. Because if you're coming in and lining people up, I don't know, I line people up coming into a class, but it might be different, it might look different. Do you get my drift?
Yeah, no. Discipline is such an important aspect in martial arts, so that's why I'm laboring this point.
And also, in dojo, okay, I'm going to say it's easier. If you've got, it may not be in all cases, and we all know we've had interesting members of the dojo, but if you've got someone coming in, like a teenager, a kid, let's say, because that's where we're kind of focusing this, and they're paying to come in there, then there's a little bit more at stake. They already probably, in most cases, have an interest and they want to be there. It's a whole different ball game from someone who's paying and wants to be there to someone who's turning up to school because they've got nothing else to do because they have to and they really don't want to be there.
Okay. Nick, you want to add to that about the discipline? If you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a dojo, we sometimes call it the byproducts of good Budo. It does a lot of things, builds a lot of character and different things like that. And it's not even in the back of my mind. I think it's in the forefront of my mind that's a big part of what we need to teach the kids through the martial art. In the dojo, in the school, there's a curriculum, and yeah, I agree with Marty. There's a curriculum that we have to teach, and some of the kids don't want to learn it. That's where it is. You have to build a relationship to help that happen. But in my mind, in school, I'm also trying to teach those life skills and lessons. Even I teach introduction to psychology or leadership or whatever. It doesn't really matter what subject I'm teaching. Obviously, I need to get through that knowledge, but the other stuff is, in my mind, is just as important. That the sort of life skills, the character building, all that kind of things, the life lessons. I think at the dojo, it's easier
Christoph?
to have some of those put
Sorry.
forward and stuff. Yeah.
Christoph, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I agree too. It's easier to have more discipline in the dojo than in our classroom. Also because people come in the dojo because they want to. Not all the kids, but we all have in our dojo parents who came and said, "This is my kid. He has problems. Can you help me with Aikido?" And so sometimes we have people that doesn't want to come, but the more people we have are people that come for Aikido, and it's easier because they want to come.
Okay, so look, a big problem in a lot of dojos is they have a strong children's class, and then when the children turn into teenagers, they lose them. Have you got any insight or advice into, okay, Maddie, you teach teenagers, Christoph, you teach young kids, Nick, you've done both. Not in a Catholic priest kind of way, but you've taught both. So have you got any suggestions? Because it's a big problem in dojos. They lose a lot of kids. How can any suggestions of how that can change? Maddie, you want to go first?
Okay. If I think about the current crop of teenagers we've been, I was going to say lucky. I'm not sure that it's lucky. I think people have worked very hard to bring them up the way they are as a group. I think that's one important point. Having a critical mass and having them in there to support each other and to train with helps. But also, what I see is a validation of their skills and their efforts, and in a way that's almost the same as giving them a voice, which is probably what I would look at in drama maybe. They get to come up into an adults class. They're not as an afterthought. They train with the adults as well as having time to train with other teenagers. They get used to Zuke. They get pushed really, really hard. And I think that they appreciate the space to actually, because they normally in the Shudokan, they get a fair bit of space to actually improve their skills, to challenge themselves, and to train and be thrown, and also throw the teachers after class and things like that. I think those sorts of things, giving them the opportunity to actually extend themselves as well as being a part, gives them, I think, two good groundings there. So
you're saying you have to challenge them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So not accept that, not being in the class being in the class is not the aim. The aim is to get something out of the class, and to show that it's not, they'll come in and you see them all nervous, and it's not, it's not what you're looking at us doing. It's what we can also look at you doing. Like, those kids can cartwheel better than I can. They can jump more. They can, fly over more bodies in ukemi than I can. And these sorts of things, I think, also give the adults something to look at. And we always, I feel like we kind of celebrate that a little bit in the dojo.
I've never seen you do a cartwheel, Maddie, and I don't want to either. Christoph.
Challenging them is very important. Challenging them is the point, I think. There is no competition in Aikido, so we have to find another way to challenge them. And that's in Belgium we have a soccer team, a famous soccer team, and all the kids want to play soccer, to play football. And on the field, if they don't train well, they don't play on Sunday. So there's always a challenge. There's always a competition, and for them, when they are teenagers, that's what they want. But in Aikido, we have to find how to challenge them and keeping the tradition also.
By the way, that's the team that lost to France in the World Cup, yeah?
I don't remember, Sensei. I don't speak English.
Please.
Well, I think that, you know, you're looking at teenagers, it's pretty, that's what they do, right? They leave not just the dojo, they leave their family. They're trying to spread their wings. They're trying to get away. That's why you get the teenagers who are, you know, push back against parents, the rebellious kids, whatever. And they want to go out with their friends, their peer group, more than, you know, hang out with the family. And that's, so one of the things we try to do is create a peer group that they want to hang out with that's also training at the dojo. And I think that's important. We, you know, we really try hard at our dojo to make a really comfortable atmosphere for the kids and the parents. It's like a family group, and we get the parents involved in all kinds of things, and the kids involved in it too. I mean, outside of just doing Aikido, it has to be more than that. It has to be a place where they want to go to meet up with a friend, or, you know, just to have fun with a buddy, yep. Just like they would if they weren't in Aikido.
Yeah, cool. Look, one of the problems, right? Like, you know, I don't know about school teaching, and I don't want to lessen its value. Mind you, I didn't have a good experience at school. But in the dojo, you have to manage three things: the parents' expectations, the students' expectations or wants, and the demands of the art. And that's why I think teaching kids is really hard, because an average teacher will hit one, a good teacher will hit two out of those. A really good teacher can hit all three. What's your experience in that? You got any comment about that? Christoph, you go first.
You were talking what the expectations of the parents. Yep. I think discipline, we were talking about discipline. Discipline is also something that can help, because when parents came in the dojo, they certainly don't know nothing about martial arts. What they see, what they can perceive, yes, is discipline. But they don't know if the technique you're teaching is good or not, but they see the discipline. They see what is external. Is it correct? Mm-hmm, yeah. This is one way to help parents to meet with Aikido. That's the same with Reikizaho. That's something external. When we demonstrate something, even in front of people that who doesn't know Aikido or who doesn't know martial arts, they don't know if the technique is good, but they see the posture, they see the eyes, and they see the discipline.
Sorry, Christoph, we're going to come back to Reikizaho later. It's very important. I want to talk about that later. Nick?
Yeah, I think that it's important to manage those expectations and to create them. Of course, over the years, we've had parents that, and this is quite rare really, but it's there, that, you know, that they start to say, oh, my child should be this, my child should be that. And like they want their child to be the next belt, the next belt, the next belt. And that's not their decision. A long time ago, we started making sure that the parents knew we are not a belt machine type dojo. The kids will test when they're ready and not before. And I am the sole arbitrator of when they are ready. And then this, like a copy of the discipline that we're asking for in the kids in the dojo while training, is you're showing that in yourself, and you're sort of letting the parents know, I'm not going to say telling them, but you're letting the parents know that discipline applies to when they test and the parents' behavior as well. I don't know if you guys, like, you probably do have, you know, the soccer moms or the hockey parents that are on the sidelines, sometimes creating more of a problem than the kids do. Yeah, I agree with, you know, the kids, if they want to be there, it's much easier. And that's a big difference between school. I mean, and you know, in the dojo, if the kids are doing a technique that they should know and they're not doing it the way they should, I have a shinai from kendo, and I'll just sort of take it off the shelf and put it over my shoulder, and the parents are all watching me go around, and you know, I'm not gonna, don't hit the kids, or at least I might tap them or something, but it's really light. But they're usually laughing by that time. They know that I'm not gonna whack them with a shinai. But I always make a comment, as soon as I pull the shinai out, you know, every knee in the whole class goes forward a little more, and the backs come up a little more. And you know, and I make a joke that I wish corporal punishment was so loud, because apparently it really works well.
I hear you. I hear you. Sorry, Maddie, you?
Look, in the current levels that I teach in terms of the dojo, not teaching kids, I don't find as much. The parents are kind of happy to get rid of them for an hour and put them. That sounds a bit bad. I don't really mean that. But you know, they don't watch. But I remember one specific case of a young lad who used to get coached by his dad in the Huntingdale Dojo many years ago. And so all I did was make sure that he trained down the other end of the dojo so the old man couldn't talk to him. And then he seemed to be much happier. So, you know, Dad didn't complain and we never spoke about it. But I think there was that thing that he knew what I was talking about. But the other thing is, like, it happens at school. It'll happen. I teach a year 12 class, which means there's a lot of pressure because they're graduating. So, you know, I get calls every now and then, but parents, what I've found is they just want to know that I know something about what I'm talking about their child or student, and that I care. And that's very easy for me to kind of show because I do.
Cool. All right. Now, we all do the Yoshinkan system of Aikido, right? And it's very regimented. So what about the creativity side for kids? Is that being stifled in the dojo? And how important is that creativity? And are we encouraging it? Christoph?
I can't change the techniques, but I can change the way I teach them. We use in the dojos some small materials that can help to train more usefully. Yeah, some like balls, clothespin, things like that. Lines on the mats tend to show the cut, and it can help with small materials. You can and creativity. You can train more efficiently, but the technique doesn't change.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, I don't know if we're stifling the creativity. I agree with what Christopher just said, that as a teacher, you try to be creative to have a difference in the lessons and the kids doing different things, while maybe even it's learning the same technique or the same parts of techniques. You hit on games and activities that teach a technique or teach a movement or whatever it is, that doesn't look quite like a regular Aikido class, but they are actually learning, and then you can put a new technique. But it's not, yeah, I don't think learning a martial art, any martial art, not just Aikido, is about at a very early stage being creative. You're supposed to watch and copy your sensei and not be. It's not a creative activity until, well, I don't know when. I think that you follow your sensei, copy what they're doing. That's the shuhari kind of idea. And the kids are shoot, right? They're at the beginning, the very beginnings, or pre-beginnings of their Aikido. So, you know, in grade 1, you don't ask the kids to be creative in math. You might be creative in your lesson planning in terms of how to, you know, different ways to teach them how to add. Yep. But 1 + 1 = 2.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna follow up on that in a second. Maddie, please.
If I talk about kids class, like the very young ones, then I think, you know, creativity comes in the form for them of having fun. and like the dessert at the end of dinner, it's the games and stuff they play at the end of the class. So, but teenagers, I think, particularly at Springvale, have, particularly in the last few years when we've been doing the Jiwaza competition, I think they get an ample opportunity to be creative. I see that as being the element where they can express themselves a little bit more. And I think that's something that we do quite well. And also after class, they're the ones that will get up and practice and try stuff. And I know that as an instructor, I just leave them alone and go and do some of my own training or whatever. And then every now and then they'll come up and ask something. But I see that after class part as being quite good for them, but also earlier in the class as well, if we're finishing off with some of the freestyle stuff. So I think that, however, without all the basics, you can't do that.
Okay.
I think that's important as well.
Of the four of us here, I'm the unqualified teacher, right? But let me ask you this. It is said that children learn to sing before they learn to speak. Children learn to run around and play games before they learn to walk properly. So shouldn't we be teaching them creativity and regimented learning at the same time? Nick, you talk about shuhari. I believe it can coexist at the same time and actually in the same class. So hold on. But my point here is that, is this why we're losing people? Is this why we're losing people? Because our teaching, we're always like this. We don't allow that growth. We don't allow that expression. Go on, Nick.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between allowing that expression, allowing the kids to express themselves, and in different ways, like taking the technique and maybe modifying it a little bit, but and letting them do that, and that's fine. Let them sort of play with the Aikido. That's okay. But they need to know that that's their playing part, and that's okay. Your thing about you sing before you talk and stuff like that. No, you walk before you run, and I that's my experience in education. You can't, and in the dojo it's the same. If I have mustard. I'll repeat mustard senseis, right? If you have good kamae, you can get good kiondosa. If you have good kiondosa, you can have good kionwaza. But if your kionwaza and juwaza isn't working, you got to go back to kiondosa, go back to kamae. And I think that's the same at school. I don't know about Australia or the Netherlands, but
Belgium.
We don't fail students anymore.
When is your kamae good enough? My kamae was corrected by Chira Sensei and Inoue Sensei when I was a 6th dan.
Yeah, me too. I've had that experience as well.
So my question is, let me get this quote, yeah? And this is a problem that we have in a lot of the regimented martial arts. Strive for progress, not perfection. And are we stifling progress because we're looking for perfection in kids?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a balance there. You have to have a balance. For me, kids, we have a curriculum that goes all the way to black belt for the kids. I don't think I'll ever have a prodigy that trains enough and is picking it up like that enough to get to black belt, youth black belt, because it's not the same level. You're not looking for perfection, and you are looking for progress. But to have the progress, you need to have a part at least of that class that is, this is the way you do things in a basic way before you can play. I mean, I think you got to let the play happen, but you also have to do the thing.
Cool. Sorry, Marty, go.
I think that we think this thing of creativity exists out here by itself and doesn't have any relationship to anything else. And I would suggest to you that it does. And I would suggest that, in most cases, you know, maybe not Beethoven's or whatever. In most cases, people will learn the basics, or they'll have a crack at some of the basics, and then they'll let fly. So, you know, and I see a regular class that we teach as being that, you know, you'll drill a little bit of ukemi and then some of the footwork in the form of the Kion Dosa, a little bit of the basics, and then you're like, right, okay. And everyone knows, like, you know, all the teenagers that have been coming understand. If they don't, that, well, maybe some of them don't, but most would understand that, you know, you get to about 8 o'clock in our class and then things start to get a little bit funky, or they're faster or whatever, you know, and that's when, you know, people are, you know, sweating the most and throwing each other around. They get a bit more of a chance to show off. I see that it's exactly the same as how a normal drama class would run for me. You know, I teach them something, a point that I want them to consider at least. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And then if I just said, okay, go along and create a mime for me, they'd look at me and say, what are you talking about? But if I teach them how to do a mime and I give them a few ideas, I'll put it on the board, and then I guarantee I'll say, try this, this, and this. And then within a minute, I'll get kids coming to me saying, sir, can I do this? Can I do that? And the answer is always yes. And sometimes I laugh at them and I say, yeah, you can do that. Am I going to say no? No, go and do your own thing. That's a little bit different, probably a bit freer to do that in a school classroom maybe.
Okay, I think Belgium wants to jump in.
Yeah, you were talking, Sensei, about singing before talking and running before walking.
Yeah.
If you want to play music, you have to learn the notes before. And if you want to write a book, first you have to learn the letters, then make words, then sentences, and then pages, and then a book. So we need basics.
Yeah, Christoph, okay, I'll use your analogy. The problem is a lot of people keep playing the notes and never play the music. And therefore we lose people.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick, 1 second. Go on. Christoph?
No, you're right, Sensei. But when you play music, you learn the notes, and then you make small songs, and then that's the challenge part.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, of course, I forgot what I was going to say, but I agree. I mean, you and I don't think we lose kids because we don't let them be creative. We do lose. We have that attrition as they turn into teenagers, but I think there's lots of other reasons why that the teenagers leave, and very often we have the kids for whatever number of years, and there's a number of years that they go and then they come back when they're a little older. Yeah, I mean, obviously we try and keep them. We try and do stuff to keep their interest. I mentioned that before, but.
Okay, all right. So let me read a quote, yeah? Successful and unsuccessful people do not vary greatly in their abilities. They vary in their desires to reach their potential. Okay, and the word desires for me is interchangeable with passion. So for me, I want to teach kids passion, how to live their passion, how to express their passion. Does the subject matter matter, Nick?
No.
Sorry. If you believe that quote, yes or no. If you believe the quote, or you want to say something about the quote, and then.
Can you repeat the quote, Sensei?
Jesus Christ. Successful and unsuccessful people do not vary greatly in their abilities. They vary in their desires to reach their potential. For the word desires, I interchange that with the word passion.
Yeah, okay. If I put passion in there, I would agree with the quote that someone who's passionate, if you're passionate about something, you're going to get good at it. You enjoy it. You love it. You're going to put that time in, the effort in, because time on a mat doesn't necessarily mean learning or getting better if you're not passionate. And I don't know. I assume I know I'm passionate about Aikido, and I have been since the very beginning, and that's why I went to Japan, and I love the art, and I just want to keep it better. And I think I'm imagining that everybody here on the screen and lots of other people around the world are also very passionate about Aikido. And someone senseis should be, but they better be. I don't know what you'd be doing teaching if you weren't passionate and you're trying to pass that passion on.
So my question is,
think a lack of passion.
Sorry, Nick, my question is, if the passion's all important, does the subject matter, does that matter at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
So why are we so regimented in our teaching of Aikido then?
Well, I'm passionate about the basic steps. And if you're passionate about Aikido, good Aikido done properly, then you have to start with the basics. You know, and I think that was my point from before. Now, thank you. I remember that part of learning, part of becoming an adult is recognizing that you're not going to be perfect. And that if you want to get better at something, it takes effort and focus and time and all those other things that hopefully most people who are adults recognize needs to happen. And kids often don't. They just say, well, I should be able to do this now. They look at their parents driving a car, and then, you know, at 6, you take your parents' car out for a joyride or something. It's not as easy as it looks.
Well, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Maddie, do you want the quote? Do you want me to read the quote again, or like Nick?
Yeah, well, it depends what a successful person is, really. That's going to differ from everyone. I think you're asking whether the subject matter matters. I guess it does to the person who's passionate about it. You know, for us, I think that we still have a certain obligation to make sure that, you know, this is, you know, we're teaching something. You know, you need to give someone a frame that they can hold on to. And then they might be a little bit more happy to let go every now and then eventually to jump. So, you know, I think that probably that's important as well. Okay.
Christoph?
I think we are all passionate people. If we teach, and we are passionate people. And sometimes it's hard to understand that, especially with kids, they are not all passionate. They don't come because they don't all come because Aikido is their passion. And we have to deal with that. That's all.
Okay. Go on, Nick. Yeah.
I think the other thing is it doesn't matter if I'm at the dojo or at school. I'm passionate about the kids and the adults in Aikido, but and when I say kids, I mean all the way up to the end of high school. I'm passionate about them growing and learning, and I get a lot out of seeing that happen over the years. And that's same in the classroom, although it's only over 1 year. You can, you know, teach a kid in grade 9 or 10, and he's later on, and you're interacting with them and doing sports and clubs and things like that with them, and they're growing and becoming, you know, and you watch it happen. And same in the dojo, and you watch that growth and learn, and the parents see it too. And that's important that the parents see it, because, well, you know, to be honest, how many of us are actually going to have to use our Aikido skills in a, you know, actual physical thing? And even the kids, they said, you want a good self-defense? Have a good kamae. Stand up straight, look people in the eye, that kind of thing, and be prepared. And you're going to end 90% of your bullying issue right there. That's what some parents come with.
Okay. Sorry, we're running out of time. Just now, two things, right? One, if you could take an aspect of the dojo into school, or if you could take an aspect of school into the dojo that's most missing or that you would like to see, what would it be? Maddie?
Thanks for picking me first.
I don't want to repeat the question again, so, you know, yeah.
I think it would just be, okay, from the dojo into school, it would just be the understanding that or just be more of you wanting to be here, I guess. for the student, and for the teacher, it would be making sure that you understand that every time you walk into the classroom, it's important to show that you actually enjoy the subject that you're teaching. And then hopefully that will rub off, you know, no matter whether you've had a bad day. I try to do that. I'm sure that there are days when I don't do that. So I think that is something, the mindset that I have when I teach Aikido, it's important to do that also when I teach in my day job. And the other way around, oh, Jesus, what is there? I mean, look,
we're not that competent, are we?
What's that?
I'm sure there's gaping holes.
I don't think there are. I think maybe the only, no, there, I mean, no, I don't, I want to say that there are more things that I like about what we do in the dojo, and particularly the way that we test, you know, teenagers and that sort of thing. I don't like the way that the testing system is at schools. I don't like and I know that I don't really have much of a suggestion as to what we would do. But the idea that the kids at the end of year 12 have to jump through this ranking system that ranks them effectively only for a university, you know, you're teaching effectively fish how to climb a tree, you know? And, you know, I think that's a meme or something that I've seen somewhere. But in the dojo, when we grade a teenager or even an adult to a black belt, we look at everything that they put in the period running up, whereas in school, I think that gets lost, and I really resent that.
Okay, people, I think Maddie didn't answer the question, but he had to get that off his chest. Christoph.
You remember, Sensei, at the beginning of the interview, I was talking about goals, and the long-term goals was being aware of who I am. And I think Aikido is a good tool for that, but we have to put it in classroom. In French, we say savoir-faire et savoir-être, know-how and know-how and how to be. Do you understand what I mean? We learn savoir-faire, we learn know-hows, but we have to learn also how to be.
Okay, all right. Nick?
Well, I think that the job of teaching high school, like I said, is partly classroom management, but I think the other part is, and not just high school, actually, the whole range. The kids need to feel, not by you telling them, but just by the way you are, that you like them and you're here to help them and you're in their corner. And, you know, it was a bit like what Marty said, that, you know, even if you're having a bad day, you have to be there for the kids. And that helps with discipline in the school because they know you're really there for them. And, you know, like I said, I teach in inner city schools, and to me, having those kids feel you're there for them, you're in their corner, you're going to help them outside of the classroom, outside of the subject area. That's what draws kids in. And the testing, and we say this to the kids and the parents when they join the dojo, there's a difference. That's a big difference, and it's the one I like in the dojo much more. You test the kid or an adult, doesn't matter, when they're ready. So there's a technical aspect to that. Sometimes ready means they just need it for their own personal growth, and they need the challenge, or they need that little boost. I do that more so with the kids than I do with the adults. But, you know, sometimes you have to test the kids on, you know, you're doing fractions and you've got 3 weeks to do fractions, and at the end of 3 weeks, you look at I remember this teaching grade 7, and none of the kids really got fractions, but I had to test them because I have to move on. I have to finish the curriculum. So then you end up, you know, adjusting how much that test counted for and trying to get back to fractions later in the year. You know, you juggle like that. But in the dojo, you don't have to. And I really I like that. You test when you're ready.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to wind it up now. Last thing, each one of you, your advice to people in these times of COVID in the pandemic, or advice to Aikido teachers? Christoph?
Thank you. I think in this time of COVID, that's now that we see our passion, our motivation, and the trick is keeping this motivation. That's the hardest thing.
Okay, Nick?
My advice would be to make sure you watch all these interviews on hashtag Keep the Flame Alive, and you know, subscribe to Aikido TV, of course, Sensei.
Thank you.
Well, I'm actually, you know, that was I got a chuckle out of a couple of people, but that to me, I'm doing Zoom classes with our kids, and it's a bit repetitive because it's very difficult to teach brand new technique to the kids. So we're reviewing a lot of the techniques they already know and trying to improve on them. But the kids are going to be ready for testing, I think, by the time we get back on the mat. They're not doing it with a partner, which is what they're going to have to go through and fiddle with when we get back. But that with the adults and the kids is about, well, I mean, your hashtag says it, right? Keeping the flame alive, keeping them involved and engaged in the dojo community and in Aikido, like just moving around in an Aikido way. I think that's really good mental health stuff right now with the COVID, and it's good for your dojo and it's good for the community. So my advice to everybody is, whether it's Aikido or something else, try to figure out how you can make that happen for yourself.
Cool. Maddie?
Well, considering that this week we've just gone back into stage 3 restrictions and no more training and whatnot, I think I just want people to understand that I know the term unprecedented is used a lot, but I do think that we forget that can mean that, you know, it's okay to feel shit. It's so, pardon my language, it's okay to feel whatever it is that you're feeling and not to push yourself. I think what I see is people trying to act like it's normal, but say that is, and it's okay not to be, and to just, you know, take some time out, and, you know, if you need help, to ask for help. That's what I would say is very important. Awesome.
Okay, I've said this before, I'll say it again. You know, it's said that you don't truly appreciate something till you've lost it. We've all of us lost what we've liked doing. The trick is not to take it for granted when we get it back. So we've had, you know, look, it's a silver lining. We've discovered what we miss, whether it's Aikido or running or going to the gym or whatever. Don't waste the opportunity when you get it back. That'd be my thing. So gentlemen, they say that teaching is the most optimistic pursuit known to mankind. And I salute you guys. You know, you live an optimistic life, and yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And thank you, Nick, for the plug. Everyone, if you want to keep these interviews going, and I do, because I'm having fun, support us by 1, sharing it on Facebook, 2, subscribing to Aikido TV online. It's the only way we can keep this going. And even if you don't, I'm going to try and keep it going. That's my passion, and that's what I want to do. So, gentlemen, Nick Mills Sensei, Maddie Ray Sensei, Christoph Jester Sensei, thank you very much. Have a good walk in wherever it is you're going, Christoph. Don't get lost.
Os.
Os. Thank you. Os.
Thank you. Os.
Yeah.